A long time ago, there was a giant cloud of gas and dust in space. This cloud was called a nebula. The nebula was very cold, and the gas and dust were very spread out. Over time, the nebula started to collapse under its own gravity. As the nebula collapsed, it got hotter and denser. The gas and dust started to clump together, forming smaller and smaller clouds. Eventually, the clouds got so dense that they could no longer hold themselves up against gravity. The clouds collapsed even further, forming stars and planets. Our solar system formed from one of these clouds. The Sun formed in the center of the cloud, and the planets formed around it. The planets were made up of the gas and dust that was left over from the formation of the Sun. How did the planets form? The planets formed as the nebula collapsed. The gas and dust in the nebula started to rotate, and this rotation caused the nebula to flatten out. The flattened nebula started to spin faster and faster, and this caused the gas and dust to clump together even more. The clumps of gas and dust got bigger and bigger, and eventually they became planets. The planets were made up of the different elements that were in the nebula, such as hydrogen, helium, oxygen, and carbon. What evidence supports the nebular hypothesis? There is a lot of evidence that supports the nebular hypothesis. For example, the planets in our solar system all orbit the Sun in the same direction. This suggests that they all formed from the same cloud of gas and dust. Another piece of evidence that supports the nebular hypothesis is the composition of the planets. The planets are all made up of the same elements, which suggests that they all formed from the same material. What are some of the other theories about how the solar system formed? There are a few other theories about how the solar system formed. One theory is the planetesimal hypothesis. This theory states that the planets formed from small, solid particles called planetesimals. The planetesimals collided with each other and merged to form the planets. Another theory is the tidal theory. This theory states that the planets formed when a star passed close to the Sun and caused a cloud of gas and dust to be pulled out of the Sun. The cloud of gas and dust then collapsed to form the planets. Which theory is correct? The nebular hypothesis is the most widely accepted theory about how the solar system formed. However, there is still some debate about the exact details of how the planets formed.